So the Mets rained out for a second straight day. At least they didn't make you go to the ballpark today, right? They told you a little bit earlier what a disaster last night was. As they weren't getting that game. Everybody knew they weren't going to play that game. It was supposed to rain for 2 straight days, and it did. They made everybody go to the ballpark. They tried to find a window, which they knew they weren't going to find one. I don't know where they found the weatherman to tell them there was going to be a window, but either way, they got everybody out there. The 5,000 people maybe that were going to that game in that weather went out there, paid for parking, sat around till 9:30 to find out that the game was canceled. Today they canceled it early. Steve Cohen today was on CNBC, and he said he's not worried. He's not worried. You know what? I'd be worried if I was you. And he compared it to, what if it's just like having a couple bad days in January of a hedge fund? How clueless are you? We don't know what that's like, Steve Cohen. We don't have hedge funds. We don't know what it's like to have a couple bad days at a hedge fund, okay? We know this team hasn't won a game. They've looked like garbage. They've done absolutely nothing right. Except today, when they canceled the game prior to people trucking their asses out to the field, out to Citi Field. Opening day was a complete disaster. Carlos Mendoza looks like he's lost. He's in over his head, right? The whole Rhys Hoskins thing was a disaster. That came from the bench. I don't care what they tell you. That came from the bench to throw behind him in the 7th inning. After he has 4 RBIs that night, he's been killing you for 2 days, and it's in revenge for a play that wasn't even dirty. The slide was fine. He slid before the bag. He slid through the bag. He held on to the bag. He did hit McNeil's legs. Toughen up, McNeil. You're going to sit there and get your whole team into a bench-clearing brawl because he hit your legs? Go take a look at some video. Go look at, Ruben Tejada get his leg broken by Chase Utley in a couple years ago. Go look at Pete Rose running through the catcher in the All-Star game. Go look at Willie Randolph getting flung into left field when the guy was breaking up a double play. And none of those resulted in any kind of suspension. This didn't either. But it did. It resulted in the Mets pitcher getting suspended. But the whole thing. Listen, I'm not one to panic. 4 days. I normally would be sitting here telling you 4 days. Don't worry about it. You're gonna have a 4-game losing streak somewhere along the line. We play this thing for 6 months. But I think it's time to panic. And I think Steve Cohen is lost with his hedge fund remark. Nobody understands that. Your manager looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. They can't hit. They have a 188 team batting average. The one part that we thought was going to be terrible was the pitching. It seems to be, it's okay. They're 3rd in ERA, but still, it's the same garbage though, because Severino went out there and gave up 3 runs. He was terrible. The one game where they scored a couple runs, they made stupid mistakes. One throwing behind Hoskins in the 7th inning. 2, you got Adam Ottavino out there in a 6-2 game, and all they're talking about is how he worked on holding all winter, worked on holding runners close, holding them close so they're not going to steal. Listen, we've been watching Ottavino for 20 years, it feels like, on the Mets. We know he doesn't hold runners close. We know they can run on him. It is what it is. Don't sit there and tell us that he worked all year, all winter, and the first thing he does is he balks in a run when he tries to pick someone off. I mean, come on. How classic Mets is that? They can't hit. Alonso and Alvarez are the only people hitting. Lindor looks overmatched at the plate. He can't catch up to the fastball. He takes strike 1 every single time. If you're going to go behind if you're going to go strike 1 every single time, because they're going to just start pouring it over the plate, first pitch. He doesn't even try to swing half the time, most of the time. He's up there taking the strike. Takes the strike, falls behind, then they blow it past him, up and in. He can't catch up to it. His bat speed, I don't know if his bat speed is low or what it is, but he can't catch up to it. He's behind it. He's fouling him off. It's disaster. Yeah, it's only 4 games. It could very easily be 6 tomorrow. They better win these. They better win that doubleheader, because then you go into Cincinnati, who's an improved team, and then you go into Atlanta. And on the other side of town, you got the Yankees who were just steamrolling everybody. We thought the Yankees would have a tough start, right? Because they were going to open up against the arch nemesis, the Astros, swept them. They won 2 out of 3 against the NL National League pennant winners last year. Today's game, a back and forth. They get the lead in the 10th, and they give it up. Then they get the lead again, and they leave the tying run on third base. You got Soto hitting. You got Verdugo hit a home run today. You got Soto throwing people out at the plate on opening day. And the Mets are sitting there with McNeil arguing over a play that wasn't even dirty. The pitching is terrible. The defense is terrible. Nimmo's not hitting. Okay, he's playing okay in left field, but you got the manager who's already shaking up the lineup. If we're not panicking, why are we shaking up the lineup? I mean, come on. Now, I get it. J.D. Martinez is coming, but he's not the savior. He's not Babe Ruth. He's not Barry Bonds coming here. He's gonna hit some home runs, but that's about it. And you got these poor people going to see this lousy baseball team last night, and you make them pay $40 for parking, concessions, sit around in the rain for 3-4 hours, and at 9:30 you tell them it's over. It's not going to happen. I mean, listen, I get it. I wouldn't have went out there anyway, but some people did. Wait till you see how many people are in the ballpark tomorrow at 12 o'clock for the first pitch. There might be 700 people there. And I get it. It's April. And like I said, I'm usually not one to do this because I could usually be the voice of reason. Listen, it's 4 games. You're going to have a 4-game loser. It's okay. It's just 4 games. It's like a hedge fund. You know, it's like a hedge fund. Having a couple bad days in your hedge fund. But it just does. Where is it going to get better? And then the other night, you have, maybe 8,000 people in the ballpark, right? 0-0. You got a good game going, a pitcher's duel. You bring in Diaz. And you do the whole light production trumpets thing. Listen, I get it. The trumpets thing was electric 2 years ago. But when it's on a bad team and you're doing that, it becomes embarrassing. What are they going to be, 20 games out of first place in August? And they're going to be, bringing Diaz into a meaningless game, do this whole light show like it's the 4th of July or I mean, come on. In front of 12,000 people. You don't need to do all that. It looks like all they worked on all winter was the Diaz light show. Well, Diaz isn't going to be pitching if you can't get runs, or if you can't stop him from getting runs, if you can't field the ball at second base. And you think the team's going to get better? Listen, they gave us hope this year. They told us that we were going to contend, and if we're contending when we come up to the trade deadline, they were going to pick somebody up and they were going to go for it. Why can't we be the Arizona Diamondbacks, right? This team is the worse than the Mets last year. Forget about the Diamondbacks. And what's going to happen is they're going to trade Pete Alonso at the trade deadline because you can't get stuck in a situation like the Islanders had with John Tavares where, oh, no, we're going to keep him. He's going to sign. And then the offseason hits and he hightails it out of town and you get nothing for him. If you could book it that if they're 10 games out in July, they're going to trade Pete Alonso, and then it's going to get real bad. And I know, again, it's only 4 games, but you cannot do. You got McGill on the shelf now already, right? McGill's on the shelf. He does shoulder issues. Zenga's throwing, but we haven't heard anything there. You got the owner saying don't panic. You got the manager shaking up the lineup after 3 days. You got people coming in. It's been pouring raining for 9 hours, and you tell them you're gonna play the game that night, make them spend their hard-earned money while you talk about hedge funds on CNBC. Clueless. Last year might have went down faster than the submarine to the Titanic. It's going down even quicker this year. Doubleheader tomorrow. Mets, Tigers, 12:05. If you're lucky, there's 1,200 people in the park. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing with the way the Yankees are playing too. We talked a good game for 1 year, and then we went right back to where we were. The 2024 New York Mets, folks. 2024 New York Mets.